See by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming in the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, hey, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
What a beautiful way to come into this. Welcome to Revolt Studios for this Revolt to Vote presents a social conversation with Bernie on behalf of Revolt. My name is Amrit Singh. I'm the chief political correspondent of this network, and I'm speaking to our initiative called Revolt to Vote, which is basically our initiative to cover this presidential campaign and to give you a voice. This has been an election season that's seen dramatic changes in the way young and multicultural audiences and demographics are engaged, and this has been quite an election season, hasn't it? Don't you think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. So, you know, basically this time we're talking about a senator who has catalyzed and changed this entire environment. We're talking about Senator Bernie Sanders, and he's here today for a town hall. How's that feel? Woo! Right? Thank you guys very much. So before we bring the senator out, I wanted to give you guys a sense of what we're doing today. I'm joined here by a couple of young voters, and we're here in Revolt Studios with a room full of voters. We'll also have people coming from different satellite link-ups at campuses around the nation, actually around the state, because we are on the eve of the California primary, which is June 7th, and there are lots of issues that are facing young voters here in California they'd like to speak to. USC, how are you guys feeling? You guys looking good.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Ryan Lopez, and on behalf of everyone here, I'd like to welcome you to the Revolt event. I'm president of College Students for Bernie here at USC, as well as a Bernie Sanders district level delegate for California's 37th Congressional District. We're gathered here today because, if you guys haven't heard the statistics, 200,000 new voters in California just on May 23rd. Most of them young voters. It is clear that young voters have a choice in this election. We are going to be this election. We are going to define this election. And with all these young people sitting here to my left, we're going to change democracy. So right now we're going to hear from all these amazing young people, as well as over at the studios, to see the issues that affect California young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys looking great out in USC. I love, you know, we're talking about this election being engaging young and multicultural voters in ways as never before. As I said, Senator Sanders has been a catalyst for a lot of that. So we're excited to get a chance to give all of you at USC an opportunity, and all of you in the studio audience also an opportunity to speak to the Senator about some of these issues that are facing you here in the state of California. Now, I did mention the people in the studio. I'm going to get to them in a second. But this is also going out live on Revolt and Revolt.tv. And so there's people at home that are watching this too. You can be a part of this as well. This is a social media engaged age, right? So there's a hashtag. It's called Revolt to Vote, which again is the name of Revolt's political election coverage. You can use that hashtag and be a part of this day. In fact, when you do that, we have some real-time vetting coming through with my host, DJ Damage. I want to send it to him a little bit and give us a sense of what's happening with social. Damage, how you doing, man?
Well, as you said, this is a social conversation with Bernie, and everything social is happening in real time. So if you're watching live on our network or revolt.tv, please send in comments now using the hashtag RevoltToVote. Right now, I have some from our boy Prince Artie. He said, I'm excited to see Bernie speak at Revolt, and I'm excited as well. Shout out to @D.Omen. He said he's going to convince Bernie Sanders to change his slogan from Feel the Burn to Millie Rock the Vote, hashtag RevoltToVote. So as you can see, everybody's getting social right now. If you're watching, hit us up live at RevoltToVote using the hashtag.
Beautiful. Now I'm gonna call a little audible here. Thank you for that, Damage. I'm gonna call a little bit audible here, Director. If you can, and I mean, if it's only just these people here, we're gonna do this. But I want to get a sense from the people in the room right now. When we're talking about student loans, right? We're talking about the fact that it's going to take the average student 21 years to pay off their student loans. The average student is expecting from a bachelor's degree to have $39,000 to $42,000 in debt. Now, given that fact, I want to get a sense from here, and if Director, you can also get our studio audience involved. With a show of hands, how many of you are expecting student loans to affect your life decisions in a way that may be crippling? I don't know if yeah. Okay, well, student loans are obviously a hot issue in this election season, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're also going to be talking about criminal justice reform. These are big issues for Revolt and for young demographic in general. Like I said, we have a studio audience here. You just got a little peek at them. Maybe some hands were in the air when we talked to them. We have a co-host here today. His name is Chris Prudhomme from Vote Action Now. We're going to be going to him in just a moment, and we're going to get a sense from him about what he's feeling is important to talk about today and to get a sense from what's happening inside the studio and what are the issues that are bubbling up. Now, do we have a mic here for you guys? No. Okay, cool. Zach, why don't you come close to me real quick? Okay, Zach. Now you're going to be speaking into my chest here. Okay. We're having a heart-to-heart. That's what they call it. Mm-hmm. What are some of the issues that you feel are most important in this election?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think honestly the student loan thing is important for a lot of people here. I know, especially we have a lot of college students here. Mm-hmm. I mean, foreign policy is a huge importance for me. Mm-hmm. You know, being able to work across the aisle and talking.
And just real quickly, what is it about foreign policy that matters so much to you?
Well, I think, you know, being able to, having someone who can talk and have diplomatic sense is really important for us as a country, and being able to, you know, just erase some of the perceptions of how America has dealt with some foreign policies in the past.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Zach. Now, I'd like to just get one more sense from you, Danielle. Would you want to come up here? This is Danielle. Danielle, what would you hope to hear from the senator today?
I don't know. I'm just interested to hear what his political agenda is for the millennial and Gen Z generation, mm-hmm. and what he has in store for our generation moving for the next 4 years to 8 years, actually.
That's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Danielle. I like that Danielle dropped Gen Z in there. Gen Z, cybrids, iGen, that's what we're calling the next generation of voter, the next generation of American who is now coming to the ballot for the first time. I mentioned Chris Prudhomme earlier from Vote America Now. Chris, I believe, is with us now. Chris, how are you, man?
I am great. Amr, how you doing?
Doing great, man.
Good,
how you feeling?
Feeling great. We're excited to be here, ready to make it happen.
Great. So give me a sense of what you think is important to talk about with Bernie today.
Well, there's so many different issues going on with millennials today, and I think it is crucial to, of course, address those concerns. There's numerous issues from health care, college tuition. So I think it's important that millennials address their issues, and, of course, that's why he's here today.
That's beautiful. So if I could get a sense, can we do this this little bit with USC too? Now, when we talk about student loans, and we know that they're under a delay, so please bear with us when I ask this question to you, but I'm giving them a little bit of buy time here. So when we talk about student loans, you guys are in it, you're feeling it, you're on the forefront of it in a lot of ways. Talk to me about how student loans and your experience with them are affecting the way you look at your future.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things here at USC, at least, is that we are a private institution. So student loans are definitely part of our financial aid package, especially with here at USC, our tuition just got raised to $51,000 a year. So just to let you know, student loans are definitely going to be a burden coming up in the next few years for not only myself and my fellow colleagues here at USC, but at most universities across the country. And it's very unfortunate. But we know that Senator Sanders has a plan to hopefully help us to fix it so we can thrive and prosper in a better America.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. I mean, it's so beautiful to get those kinds of perspectives and viewpoints, particularly from, I suppose, this is one of those times where we can talk about a college institution being the front lines. I mean, that's where this issue is really playing out. We're going to have a lot happening today. We have a special person coming into this place. His name is Senator Sanders. We're going to be back for a little bit more conversation, and then the senator is going to join us. Stay with us. Be right back. Thank you. Yes, look at everyone. Welcome back to this Revolt TV presents a special social conversation with Bernie. Put social in that name because it's very important to us that you get involved at home. We know you're watching at home. We have people here as well. You can use the hashtag #RevoltToVote to get involved. Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, we want to hear your comments. We're going live with this, and of course, we're also going to be editing it later into a package. And for archival purposes, it's important that you use that social media handle. I mean, I think that more than ever, we've seen social media be a part of this campaign and getting messages out, right? So relieve me from feeling corny and putting out a hashtag out there. Please use it. So Revolt to Vote is the name of Revolt TV's election campaign coverage. Again, like I said, it's a nonpartisan initiative. We've made invites to Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, the various campaigns to come and join us for a town hall. Bernie Sanders was the first to accept. Let's give him a round of applause for that. We're very grateful to the senator. He has catalyzed and energized a young electorate in ways never before. And Revolt TV is a network founded by Sean Diddy Combs that is aimed at young people, young voters. We use music and culture as a means to talk about those things. And this election season, it is time to talk about the issues. Now, for Revolt to Vote, one of our initiatives, we're going to be identifying a few core issues, and that's the way we're going to talk about this election. One of those initiatives and one of those issues is criminal justice reform. Very soon we'll be having a criminal justice reform week. It's one of the questions that I intend to ask the senator when he arrives in studio, which is very, very soon. He's coming from another rally. He's a busy man. So when we talk about criminal justice reform, you know, we've seen staggering amounts of people incarcerated. In fact, America has the largest incarceration rate in the entire world. 724 out of every 100,000 people are incarcerated in this nation, many often for nonviolent crimes that affect impoverished areas. This is an issue that we're seeing in a prison industrial complex in California. We know that since 1980, there's been 23 prisons built and 1 California university campus. So when you see what's happening there, there are issues as to why so many people are going to jail, for what kinds of reasons, and what we can do about those people being there. I want to get a chance to talk to you, Tara, because I know that we were talking a little earlier over in the commercial break. You said criminal justice reform is important to you.
Definitely.
Okay, give me a sense of why it's important to you.
Well, it's most important because we have so many children who are, you know, impoverished, who are underserved from underserved communities that end up in this this criminal justice system, and they end up being more so victims. There's no rehabilitation. I want to see more focus on rehabilitation, more focus on, you know, dealing with people with mental issues and things like that, to make sure that people can be productive members of society rather than caught in a revolving wheel of prisons.
That's beautiful.
Jail.
Yeah. Now, what you're talking about is recidivism. You want to see decrease in the recidivism rate. Isn't that right?
Definitely. I want to see decreased recidivism, but also I want to see us taking steps on the front end rather than on the back end. We shouldn't. Before people even get to the prison point, we should be taking steps to make sure that they're able to be productive in society, whether it be, you know, we're in schools teaching students how to deal with regular life issues, showing them how to write resumes, showing them about college majors and why they should care about those kind of things, yeah, and how it's the best alternative in comparison to whatever criminal activity they might become involved with.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, USC, you know, I just want to put you guys on notice. I'm coming to you in a second with this, too. I know we have a little bit of a delay. Crystal, come here. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
The one thing that I should be doing for the people at home so we get a sense, of course, we are in Hollywood, California, like we said. That's important because on June 7th, we have the California state primary. And if I could take a moment to address our audience here, too, I think we're all happy that we're getting a chance to express our democratic will. Isn't that right?
Yes.
In June 7th, right? Thank you guys very much for that. Give me a sense of, we were talking about criminal justice reform a little bit. This is an issue that strikes at the heart of your soul in a sense too, right?
Yes, it does. And as he mentioned, what are we doing to prevent them from even going to prison? Then also afterwards, a concern for me would be economic development. So once they get out, where are the jobs? And even within those impoverished communities, where are the jobs? And even the entrepreneurship, so people can stay within their communities and build it up. Where are those resources so they can do that?
Crystal, if I could ask, if you're comfortable sharing with the entire world, who are you leaning towards voting for?
Well, right now, like I'm just gathering my information, but I'm definitely feeling the burn right now.
Okay, cool. So in feeling the burn, I have a feeling you're not alone in this room, and I just want to get a sense of what it is about Bernie Sanders as a candidate that is most attractive to you.
Well, I would say number one would be authenticity. So right now, a lot of, especially as our generation is really getting more involved in politics and everything like that, we look for what's real. Who are the candidates we can truly relate to or believe that what they are saying, they're actually going to try their best to fulfill. And we understand that's hard, especially when you're dealing with just a lot of different factors in DC, but still, who's going to really put their best effort forward and make it happen for us?
You said a word, authenticity, and I think in this election season we've seen more than ever that is something that voters are really resonating with, the notion of authenticity. Now, I'll give you a second to think about it, but what is it that makes a candidate authentic? What is it that when you look at Bernie Sanders, you say, you know what, that's an authentic guy? How would someone like you, because people at home, even the political campaigns are interested in this answer from you because they want to know how to be that. How is it that you feel that a candidate is authentic?
I would say that it's in the way that they talk to their audiences, and not even just what they're saying, but how they're saying it, how it's being relayed, how they're connecting. Sometimes, understand that a lot of them already have speeches made, but what are you truly saying? Can you sometimes go off topic and actually connect with your audience? And when you answer your questions, are you actually answering the question, or are you just going with something you already had written because, we understand you prepped for this in advance. Right. And like I said, it's just really listening to them. It's a feeling you get as well. Cool. It's the vibe.
Thank you, Crystal. Well, Crystal said that to stay authentic, you shouldn't get off topic. And so you know what? I'm not going to get off topic because I want you to think that I'm an authentic person. You know what? We're going to go to USC right now and talk about this issue of authenticity. USC, if you could, just give me a sense of the flavor and the pulse there, with the people over your shoulder. What is it that you think defines authenticity in a political and presidential candidate in this 2016 election season?
One of the things I love about Senator Sanders is that I can look at his record. I can go back and I can track it. It's very easy to see that he says and means and does what we hear. And it's a very simple thing. So that, to me, is authenticity. You can prove it. And it's not something that's fake. You can see it. You can touch it. You can hear it. And that's what he has done. That's what this movement is about. That's why you see all these students and young millennials out here ready to fight and vote for him, because he is authentic. And that's what we love about him.
That's great. Thank you so much. That was an impassioned answer. It's great to hear from the folks at USC. You can see them right there over my shoulder. I think that they feel that was a really authentic answer too. Chris, if I could get a sense from you, man, what is it that you think defines or typifies authenticity in a presidential candidate in 2016?
Thank you. I think there's so many different issues that are taking place today in America. I think people want a president that is tangible, that is them, that is real. I think so many times with numerous issues in America, people look at political class as kind of an elite class. And I think that it's time that we have people who are genuine and real and really down to earth, just tangible folks. And I think as millennials, we want a president that we feel can relate to us and that really listens and engages in us. Oftentimes, you go to on Capitol Hill, we all know you can't just walk into a senator or a congressman and say, hey, I want to meet. You might meet a chief of staff or you might meet a legislative aide. But if you're a lobbyist, you're definitely walking right into the door, and they're going to make it happen for you. So I think it's time that we start to have a conversation and really start to really have a better America and be able to have a more tangible America, for that we can have our issues voiced on a continuous basis, and that young people, and as well as all Americans, don't feel that there's a void that they can't talk to their local elected officials.
Yeah, Chris, that makes a lot of sense. You said, like as you said, it's time for a real conversation. It's time. Would you say it's time for a social conversation? Social conversation with Bernie, perhaps. But actually, before we get to Bernie, I want to talk about social. As I said, we've been asking for that hashtag Revolt to vote. I'm going to toss it over to Damage. Damage, who's manning our social. You know, first of all, if I could get a sense from you, man, real quick, authenticity. When you hear the word authenticity, what is it that authenticity means to you, my man?
Authenticity means coming from the heart, speaking what feels natural to you, not speaking what's fed to you, not speaking what you think sounds right. And even if it doesn't come out the best way, you know it came from your heart. You know this is what you meant when you mean to say it. Now, we are having a social conversation with Bernie. Real quick, I want to thank everybody for retweeting our live link because it's full of retweets. A lot of people are watching live from all around the country, and I appreciate that. And we have a few comments. Shout out to @SayItAin'tPorsche. She wants to talk about college loans, and that's been the biggest thing actually on our hashtag Revolt to Vote. So shout out to her for pitching in on that. We also have Martha U. Prize. She wants to talk about the quality of food and water given to our children in public schools. So there's a lot of things going. Shout out to everybody using the hashtag Revolt to Vote. And please keep retweeting our live link at revolt.tv.
Thank you for that, Damage. Yeah, I mean, you know, the education system is a huge issue for us this season too. Agriculture in California. We're talking about immigration as well. These are all issues we're going to dive into a little bit more. Do you guys have any thoughts about the immigration system and the immigration situation? Is there anything that you guys want to talk about with respect to that?
I think the only comment I will say is that our country is made up of immigrants, so we need to take that in consideration. I mean, I think this whole room will agree that all of us are from different places and that we should be given the same opportunities, equality.
Thank you very much for that. That's absolutely right. We are a nation of immigrants, and immigration we've seen as an issue rise to the fore in the 2016 election season as never before. We've been seeing it rise up through the debates. First of all, I want to do a quick round of applause, a poll real quick. When you see debates, how many of you think, between Hillary and Bernie, how many of you think Hillary Clinton has won those? Round of applause. Is that an absolute silence for Hillary Clinton? I just want to make sure that she's not won a single debate. And then Bernie Sanders, into this next commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a very special senator by the name of Bernie Sanders. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Welcome back to Revolt Studios in Hollywood. Thank you. We're here for a social conversation with Bernie. Bernie is in the building. I'm about to talk about that in just a second. But before we get to a social conversation with Bernie, I want to get to a social conversation with Gennaro. Gennaro, tell me where you're from.
I'm from Galveston, Texas, but I've lived in LA for 10 years.
Okay, beautiful, man. So now you're vested in this California primary, you're vested in the issues, but you have more global issues in mind. Now, you told me you had a military background. Give me a sense of your military background.
Yes, I was in the Marine Corps from 93 to 97. I served in Kuwait, yeah, I wanted to find out what Bernie Sanders felt about what's going on in the Middle East with ISIS and what his plan is, you know, to handle them. Because I don't want any more of my brothers dying in the Middle East.
Well, I think that we can all applaud his service. And I think that now is the time to say, as we said, Revolt TV is a social conversation with Bernie. Please welcome the man of the hour, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Well, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for your enthusiasm. And thank you for your willingness to be part of what is desperately needed in this country today, and that is a political revolution. Now, I understand that yesterday on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, which I'm going to be recording later today, Donald Trump has agreed to debate me. And I look forward to that because I think See, Hillary Clinton has not agreed to debate me here in California, so I look forward to debating Mr. Trump on that, because I think it's important that somebody hold him to task for his outrageously bigoted remarks against Mexicans and Latinos, against Muslims, against women, against veterans, against African Americans, and tell him to his face that the strength of our country is our diversity, is our coming together. And that it does this country no good when you have a candidate for president trying to tear us apart. So that's my message, and I very much look forward. I hope that one of the major networks will be prepared to sponsor that debate. Let me just say a few words as to why I think our campaign is doing so very well, and why I think we are on path to win the Democratic nomination. And the reason that we are doing so well is that uniquely we have had the courage to raise the most important issues facing the American people, issues that other candidates would rather push under the rug. And here are some of those issues, and I look forward to discussing them or any other issue you have on your minds when I'm finished. Issue number one is we pride ourselves on being a democracy, right? That means you got to vote, and you got to vote, and you got to vote. That's what democracy is about. We get up, we debate the issues, and people vote. Well, let me break the bad news to you, although I think you already know it. As a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, our democracy is being undermined. And as we speak, billionaires and their super PACs are in the process of buying elections so that Congress will be flooded with members who represent the wealthy and the powerful. That is not democracy, that is oligarchy. And one of the more amusing examples of this is you got Donald Trump, who is himself a billionaire, getting support from a guy named Sheldon Adelson of Nevada, who is a multi-billionaire. And we have got to tell these folks that we are tired of seeing this country run by billionaires, and that real power has got to come back to the middle class and working families of this country. And second of all, when we talk about democracy, if elected president, I will fiercely take on these Republican governors who are trying to suppress the vote. To my mind, at a time when we have one of the lowest voting turnout rates among major countries in the world, we want to encourage people to participate in the process, not make it harder. And it is very clear, there is no, I think, question about it. What Republicans are trying to do is to make it harder for people of color, for poor people, for young people, for older people who might vote against them to participate in the political process. I think that is political cowardice. And if Republicans don't have the guts to run on their ideas in a free and fair election, you know what? They should get out of politics and get another job. This campaign is not only running to end a corrupt campaign finance system, we are also running to end a rigged economy. And now let me tell you something that you're not going to see on corporate media very often, which is another major problem that we face, of what corporate media chooses to put on the air and what it chooses not to put on the air. But right now, we have the most unequal distribution of wealth and income of any major country on earth, and it is worse today than at any time since 1928, before the Great Depression. What that means is the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1%, now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Got that? 1/10 of 1%, as much wealth as the bottom 90%. You got an absurd situation where the wealthiest 20 people in this country own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million people. You got one family, the Walton family, who owns Walmart, owning more wealth than the bottom 42% of the American people. That is not what America is supposed to be about. And then, beyond distribution of wealth, you got all over this country, despite a major increase in worker productivity and technology, people are producing more. You know what's going on? Millions of people are working longer hours for lower wages. Why is that? You got in my state of Vermont, California, all over this country, people are not working one job. They're working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Mom is working, dad's working, kids are working. Marriages are being stressed out. Children are not getting the attention they need from their parents because people are working so hard. And at the end of all of that, 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%. And what this campaign is saying is that is not what America is supposed to be about. We're not supposed to be a country in which a handful of people have enormous wealth and enormous power, while so many of our people are just struggling to keep their heads above water. And what this campaign is about, and what a Bernie Sanders presidency would be about, is creating an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. And what does that mean? What does that mean in specific programs? What does it mean? It means, for a start, that if you work 40 hours a week in America, you should not be living in poverty. The federal minimum wage today of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. We will raise the minimum wage in every state in this country to $15 an hour. It means that in America, the billionaire class and large corporations will understand that they cannot get it all. They are going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes. It makes no sense to me, nor I think to most Americans, that you got Wall Street hedge fund managers who pay an effective tax rate, a real tax rate, lower than many teachers or firefighters or ordinary Americans. It makes no sense to me that you got large multinational corporations making billions of dollars a year in profit, stashing their profits in the Cayman Islands or in other tax havens, and at the end of the year they pay 0 in federal taxes. If elected President of the United States, that will change. The wealthy and large corporations will start paying their fair share of taxes. It makes no sense to me, that we have a trade policy, NAFTA and CAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China, that have enabled large corporations to shut down operations in the United States, move to China, pay people a couple of bucks an hour maybe, destroy the environment because there's no environmental regulation, can't form a union, and then they bring their products back into the United States of America. And my view is that if corporate America wants us to buy their products, and every night on TV they're telling you buy this and buy that, you know what? They should start manufacturing those products back here in the United States and not in China. But we're running, and we're doing well, not just to take on a corrupt campaign finance system, not only to take on a rigged economy where the very, very rich get richer and almost everybody else is getting poorer. We're also going to end a broken criminal justice system. Right now, every American should be ashamed of the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. China is 4 times our size. It is a communist, authoritarian country which does not tolerate dissent all that well. And yet we have more people in jail than China does. We have 2.2 million Americans behind bars, disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native Americans. We are spending $80 billion a year to lock up fellow Americans. Our job is to figure out why that is happening and what we can do to change those policies. Let me say a few words on my views on that. Number one, there are communities all over this country in inner cities, African American communities, Latino communities. There are rural communities, largely white communities, where youth unemployment for kids who actually graduated high school, they didn't drop out, of 30 or 40%. See, our kids who leave school, they want to get a job, they want to stand up on their own 2 feet, they want to make a few bucks, they can't find a job. And when you got millions of young people in this country who can't find a job, who can't and are not going to school, bad things happen. And I believe that as a nation, we should be investing in jobs for our young people, in education for our young people, not jails and not incarceration. You know, I want this country to have the best educated population in the world, not more people in jail than any other country. And that is one of the things that we have to do, but it is not the only thing by any stretch of the imagination. We have got to take a hard look at local police departments from coast to coast. What does that mean? I was a mayor of the city of Burlington, Vermont, a very beautiful city, and worked very closely with my local police department. I've worked with police officers and departments all over this country. Truth is that the overwhelming majority of police officers are honest, they are hardworking, and they have a very, very difficult job. But, like any other public official, if a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. Further, we must demilitarize local police departments. I have seen police departments in cities in America. They look like occupying armies. It looks like they're invading some city in Iraq. All right? That is not what a local police department should be about. A good police department, and there are many of them, are departments where people see them as part of the community. We can call them when there's a problem, not as an oppressor force. Number two, what we also got to do is make local police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. All right? Number three, we have got to end corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. It is a very perverse incentive, to allow corporations to make profits based on how many people they could lock up. Our approach should be to try to keep people out of jail, not to have somebody making money by locking more people up. Further, what we have to do, coast to coast, is to change law enforcement culture. And that means that the use of lethal force, shooting somebody, should be a last response, and sometimes it is a response that has to happen, but it should be a last response when too often today it is a first response. Now, the other thing that we've got to do, it seems to me, that the other thing we have got to do is to rethink the so-called war on drugs. What I have learned, and everybody should know, is that over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. And when you have a police record and you're 19 years of age and you go out looking for a job, you know what? It may be hard for you to get that job. So I think that at the federal level right now, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug at the highest level. Now, people can argue about the pluses and minuses of marijuana, but I think nobody, or very few people, equate it with heroin, which is also a Schedule I drug. And that is why I believe we should take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Now, by the way, the issue of marijuana becomes, like so many other issues do, a racial issue. Now, how does it become a racial issue? It becomes a racial issue because studies indicate that blacks and whites do marijuana at about equal rates. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But what is not a good thing, and certainly not a fair thing, is that blacks get arrested 4 times more often than whites for possessing marijuana. All right? So what I think, as you all know, whether or not a state legalizes marijuana is up to the people of the given state, not the federal government. 4 states in Washington, D.C. have legalized marijuana. There's a question on the ballot here in November. And if I were I would be honest with you and tell you that if I were a resident of California, I would vote for that resolution to legalize marijuana. Some of the other issues that we are focusing on are women's rights. In America, women should not continue to make 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. That has nothing to do with economics. Frankly, it is just old-fashioned sexism. And I hope that all the men will stand with the women in making sure we end that. And when we talk about women's issues, I think many of us are getting very tired of hearing Republicans at the local, state, national level running around the country talking about family values. And I want everybody to know what they mean by family values is that no woman, in their view, in this country, should have the right to control her own body. I strongly disagree. And when we're on the issue of Republican family values, we should also understand that what they mean is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to be married. I strongly disagree with that as well. This campaign is listening to young people. And what young people are telling me is, what sense is it? Why should it happen that millions of people who do the right thing, who go to college, get the best education that they can, why is it that they leave school $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 in debt? If you think about it for a moment, that's pretty crazy. We are living in a highly competitive global economy. We want to have the best educated workforce in the world. We want everybody to get all the education they can. That makes us a stronger nation. We should encourage people to get an education, not punish them. And that's why I believe that we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free. Does anybody here think that that is a radical idea? No. It's not. I mean, it already exists in Germany, it exists in Scandinavia, and this will shock some of you here, young people in California. Guess what? 45 years ago, it existed to a large degree right here in California. You can go to the University of California then, virtually tuition free. If we could do it 45 years ago, you know what? We can and should do it today. We should also lower student debt, which is strangling. Millions of people are really struggling with this high level of student debt. My view is that students, people who have that debt, should be able to refinance their loans at the lowest interest rates they can find. There are people out there stuck at 8%, 10%, 6%. If you can get 2%, 3%, let's enable people to do that. Save them enormous sums of money. And by the way, you know how we're going to pay for this? It's an expensive proposition, free tuition. We're going to pay for it through a tax on Wall Street speculation. When Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior nearly destroyed our economy, 8 years ago, Congress bailed them out. Now it is Wall Street's time to help the middle class of this country. This campaign is also listening to people whose voices are not often heard. We're listening to the Latino community. And the Latino community is telling us that with 11 million undocumented people in this country, we need comprehensive immigration reform, and we need a path toward citizenship. And I strongly support those ideas. This campaign is listening to the African American community. And I have traveled all over this country, and I have seen things that most Americans have not seen. I have been to communities in inner cities where unemployment is 30, 40%, where so many people, there aren't all that many men out on the street because many of them are in jail, where the schools are in disastrous shape, where there is not even a grocery store in the community. You can't even buy fresh food. Where there is not a bank branch in that community. You want to cash a check, you go to a payday lender, and you get ripped off in an unbelievable way. And what the African American community is asking me, and they are 100% right, how come we can rebuild communities in Afghanistan and Iraq, but we cannot rebuild inner cities in America? This campaign is also listening to the Native American community. And all I'll say is I have talked to Native American leaders all across this country. And in many communities, I was in Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Anyone here know what's going on in Pine Ridge? It is literally what you're looking at in the middle of South Dakota. You are looking at an area which is a third world area, where people are dying at unbelievably young ages, where the schools are inadequate, healthcare is inadequate, poverty off the charts. We owe more to the Native American people than we can ever fully repay. They have taught us so much. If elected president, we will fundamentally change our relationship to the Native American community. A couple of other issues I just briefly want to touch on. I'd be happy then to take any questions or that people may have. Number one, anyone tells you that climate change is not real and is not already doing devastating harm, they're lying to you. I am a member of the Senate Environmental Committee. I've talked to scientists all over the world. Climate change is real. It is causing devastating problems today, and it is caused by human activity. We have a moral responsibility to make certain we leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable to our kids and our grandchildren, and therefore we have got to take on the fossil fuel industry, transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to sustainable energy and energy efficiency. Last point. Well, two last points. Last point one. And that is, I hope everybody here and everybody watching this understands there is only one major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people as a right. Now, I worked with President Obama, and I strongly supported and got some important provisions into the Affordable Care Act. Affordable Care Act has done a lot of good things in this country, but not enough. There are 29 million people who today still have no health insurance. Many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments. And everybody in America is getting ripped off by the pharmaceutical industry, who charge us the highest prices in the world for the medicine that we need. In my view, we should join the rest of the industrialized world, every other major country, and guarantee health care to all people as a right through a Medicare for all health care system. My very, very last point is a simple one. If you study American history, what you learn is that real change never occurs from the top on down. It always occurs from the bottom on up. When workers were being exploited, working 7 days a week, 100 years ago, when children were working in factories, the working class of this country stood up and said, sorry, you're not going to treat us like that. We're human beings. You're going to respect us. And they helped to form trade unions in this country, which gave workers the ability to negotiate contracts and to be treated with respect. In the midst of the abomination of slavery in this country, way back when, there were African Americans and their allies, even way back then, at great peril, who stood up and said, you know what? The day will come when this country will rid itself of the racism and the segregation and the bigotry which exist. And some of those people died struggling. Some of them went to jail. Some of them were beaten. But they had a vision of America that said, we will end racism. If we look back 100 years ago, which is not a long period of time from an historical perspective, women in America did not have the right to vote. They did not have the right to go to the schools and get the education they wanted. They did not have the right to do the work and get the jobs they wanted. But women stood up. Some of them went to jail. Some of them went on hunger strikes. Some of them died to say that in America, women will not be treated as second-class citizenship. Over the last From a more recent historical perspective, we have the gay community and their straight allies standing up to incredible levels of homophobia and bigotry and hatred, but they stood loudly and proudly, and they said that in America, all people should have the right to love whoever they wanted, regardless of their gender. And then last year, of course, the Supreme Court ruled that gay marriage should be legal in every state. What's my point? My point is that real change only takes place, not when some guy on top gives a good speech. Real change takes place when millions of people stand up, look around them and say, you know what? The status quo is not right. It's not working. It's not fair. It's not just. That's where we are right now. People are looking around and saying, why is it the middle class continues to decline and almost all new wealth and income go to the 1%? Why are we the only major country on earth not to provide health care or paid family and medical leave to all of our people? Why do we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth? Why are young people leaving school $40,000 or $50,000 in debt? Why do we have a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy election? Why do we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? People are asking these questions, and people are coming to the conclusion that it is just too late for establishment politics or establishment economics We do need a political revolution when millions of people stand up and say, you know what, we're going to have a government that represents all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's keep it going for Senator Sanders. Let's keep it going. Senator Sanders, thank you so much. Welcome to Revolt TV. Thank you for coming. How's Hollywood treating you?
Good, great.
Good. It's great to have the senator in Hollywood. We'll be coming right back with some of those issues that the senator brought up. We're going to be talking about them. We were talking about them earlier. It's time for a social conversation with Bernie. Right back after this break. Thank you, guys. Welcome back to Revolt TV. Revolt to Vote, Vote America Now presents a social conversation with Bernie. We're at the Revolt TV studios in Hollywood, California. We are now at the town hall portion of this event. We heard from the senator. He outlined a lot of issues that are very important to him. We were talking earlier, and we found that a lot of those issues are resonant amongst a lot of you here, too. We did this earlier. I want to do this one more time with the people at home, the people at USC, UCLA, and the people here in the studio. When you think about student loans and the fact that you're facing them, and the fact that it takes an average 21 years for a person to pay off their student loans, and people are expecting to graduate $39,000 to $42,000 in loans. How many of you expect that to be a somewhat crippling scenario to face? By a show of hands. And maybe we could get the studio too. Just to give a sense that, Senator, this issue is resonating with people. And actually, before we talk to the people in the studio, I want to go to the sort of front lines of the issue at USC. There are a brimful of students that are gathered there who would like to speak to you about this issue and maybe ask you a question, Senator, about student loans.
Hi, Senator Sanders. We have a lot of friends and classmates who just graduated from college who are in, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in debt, and you know, we need help right now. Some interest rates are at 6%, 7%, and some people who actually have current student loans are asking if they could be extinguished. You know, what can you do for students right now who have student loans right now, and what can we expect going forward?
The first thing that we can do is to end the absurdity of forcing people to carry for decades very high interest rates. So if you can go out and refinance your loan at 2 or 3% rather than 6 or 8%, you should be allowed to do that. And that will cut student debt for many, many people in a very significant way. The bottom line is, as has been indicated, if people are paying off debt for many, many years, that means you, in some cases, literally people, I've talked to people, you can't get married, you can't have kids. That makes no sense at all. So this is, to me, a very high priority. For the nation, just to repeat, we should be encouraging people, all people, to get the education they need, not punishing people for doing the right thing. So this is an issue of great importance to me. First step is giving you the ability to refinance at substantially lower interest rates. Okay.
I'd like to, we have UCLA too. Senator, you know, obviously the California primary is coming up. We wanted to give the young voters of the state an opportunity to ask you some of these questions. Staying on the issue of student loans, UCLA, we have some students right there. Students, how are you? How are you feeling?
Oh, we're good.
Great, great. Thanks so much. Well, you are live now with the senator, and we believe you have a question about student loans that you'd like to ask.
Yeah, sure. Hi, big fan, huge fan. UCLA in-state tuition has increased 135% from 2006 to 2015. That's $5,400 to $7,500. What? So I'm so sorry. And out-of-state tuition has actually increased by 43%, from $24,000 to $35,500. How are you going to help with that student debt, and how are you going to actually stop the increases?
Well, I answered that a moment ago, but let me further say this. And just think about it for a second. Think outside of the box. We live in a competitive global economy. For us to do well internationally, we need the best educated workforce in the world. 40, 50 years ago, you had a high school degree. You were doing pretty well. You can get a job in the middle class. Those days are over by and large. That's why, as I said earlier, we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free so that young people are not graduating with significant debt. It behooves us. It's not just for you, it's for our country. We have hundreds of thousands of bright young people today who are more than qualified to go to college. They can't because they don't have the money. Their families are low income or working class. How stupid is that when we talk about the future of this country? How many great teachers or scientists or engineers are not going to be able to do that work because their family can't afford to send them to college? So we need a revolution, both in making sure that I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money. My parents didn't go to college. I want every kid in California and in America, regardless of his or her income, to know that if they study hard, do well in school, they will be able to get a college education. That's what America's supposed to be about.
Thank you so much, Senator. We have one more question about student loans right here. Tell me, what's your name, man?
Jason.
Jason, how old are you? Where are you from?
I'm 30. I'm from New Jersey.
All right, from New Jersey. You're going to be voting in the California primary?
You know, in Jersey primary after this.
Okay, cool. But these issues are national. So you have an issue about student loans, right?
Yeah. So my fault. One of the questions I have is with it goes across the border along with the minimum wage. What are you going to do with the NCAA? Because they have a lot of students, but they also have a lot of loans that go with that. And it's not just the topic of student loans. It's also about the minimum wage that they're getting for that degree.
Well, as I said, not only are we going to address the crisis of high student debt and make public colleges and universities tuition-free, paid for by a tax on Wall Street speculation, we're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Here is the bottom line. In America, if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. And I think a living wage is $15 an hour. I'm glad to see many municipalities moving in that direction. If elected president, I will push $15 an hour in every state in this country.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator. Chris Perdome, do you have a question?
Absolutely. So, Senator Sanders, the average college student expects to have $39,000. Oh, excuse me. Senator Sanders, the average college student expects to have $39,000 to $42,000 in debt, according to a U.S. World News report. It will take 21 years to pay it off. What can we do to ease this burden?
Well, I mean, I just thank you for throwing out that statistic. Think about it. You know, what this campaign is about is asking people to think outside of the box, outside of what they tell you on TV. And that is why? Why are we punishing people if you have to pay a debt off for decades? What does that mean? It means your life is severely impacted. You want to start a business? Can't do that. You want to have kids? Can't do that, maybe. You want to buy a damn car? You may not even be able to do that. Point is, stop and think about it. We need well-educated people. And we, through these practices of outrageously high college costs, we are dissuading people from getting the education they need, and then we're punishing them if they manage to go through college. That's pretty crazy stuff, and we got to rethink that from A to Z.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, for the question. You know, as we said, we do have some more students. We'd like to hear from the USC campus right now. USC, how are you?
Hi, Senator Sanders. My name is Kenneth Mejia, and I am a 25-year-old born and raised in LA. And I just want to say I believe in your message of compassion, courage, and fairness. And because of you, I'm actually running for United States Representative here in LA for District 34 for the June 7th primary, because I actually want to help my community of LA. So my question to you is, what advice do you have for young people like me who are running for Congress and who basically want to help our nation with wealth and income equality for all, and not just the privileged few?
Well, Kenneth, congratulations. It takes guts to do that, and I applaud you. what I want you, here's my brief message, and I've run once or twice for office myself, many times. All right, first of all, I think you're running for the right reason, okay? You know, there are some people, when I've talked to them, they say, oh, you know what, I want to be a governor, I want to be a senator, I want to be a president. They don't even know why they want to do that. It's called careerism. I want to do it because I want to do it. That's not a good reason. What you have to do is go into your own heart, and you got to speak to the people in your community, and you have got to have the courage to feel the pain in your community. Go knocking on doors. Talk to elderly people who are trying to get by on $10,000 a year Social Security, and then understand Republicans want to cut Social Security when these people are barely making it. Go and talk to veterans who are disabled. See if they're getting a fair shake from a government that they put their lives on the line to defend. Talk to working people in your community who are trying to get by on $11 an hour and see if they can feed their families on $11 an hour. Talk to the single moms out there and see how they're doing. In other words, you have got to become imbued with a passion. You have got to sense the pain, and there is a lot of pain in this country. Maybe visit a local jail. Go to a local jail and talk to the people in there. How did they get into jail? Did they get the education they need? Why did they get involved in drugs? Learn about that, and then have the guts. And the guts is to stand up to powerful people, and not a lot of folks have that courage. That's my message.
Thank you for sharing your point of view, Senator Sanders. Thank you so much. Thank you for the question from USC. Good luck on your run. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little more with the Senator about some of the issues that he outlined earlier in his address, including criminal justice reform. Thank you for joining us for this Revolt TV Presents a Social Conversation with Bernie. More coming up right after this. Thank you. Welcome back to the Revolt TV Presents a Social Conversation with Bernie. Thank you so much for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much to the Senator for joining us on stage. Senator Sanders, next we'd like to talk about criminal justice reform. This is something that you had outlined a little bit in your address. As you had mentioned, the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the nation. 724 out of every 100,000 people are presently incarcerated. You know, since 1980 in California, we've built 23 prisons here, but only one college. As you mentioned, this is a symptom of something that's gone somewhat out of balance with the prison industrial complex. And the prisons are overcrowded. Right now we're seeing so many people in jail facing disproportionately large sentences for often nonviolent crimes, affecting people in lower income communities and neighborhoods. So what can we do about the people who are in prison now who are serving these long sentences?
But thank you for raising a very, very important issue. I think what we have to do, and it has to be done on a case-by-case basis, is if people were in prison for nonviolent crimes, I think we have to review those cases on a case-by-case basis and make sure, and here is the main point, because we have a very high rate of recidivism, we have to make sure that when people leave prison, they don't get trapped in the same environment that got them into prison in the first place. And that means that we need a strong system that says that when you leave prison, you're going to have a job, you're going to have housing, you're going to have some money to get started with so you can get your life in order. And you're going to be monitored very closely. But in the long run, it is much better for the individual and far less expensive for the system. In many cases, it costs more money to put somebody into jail than to send them to the University of California, all right? So that's what I would do. I think we have to begin making sure that parole is reactivated, that when people have served a certain percentage of their time and they are able to get back into civil society, let's get them back into civil society, and let's do everything that we can to make sure they don't return. Brief story, I was in Iowa a number of months ago, and we had a forum on criminal justice. And we had two guys there, great guys. Both of them had served time. One guy said, I'll never forget this, he said, you know, I was told that I was getting out the day before. Somebody came up to me and said, getting out of jail tomorrow. Here's $75, good luck. He turned back, he came back into jail. That's not the way you do it. So thank you for raising that important issue. I see a whole lot of potential there in lowering our prison population.
Thank you so much, Senator Sanders. You know, if I could ask for one quick follow-up, one just quick bit of advice that perhaps you could give. At Revolt to Vote here at Revolt TV, we're having Criminal Justice Reform Week, and we're going to be rolling out a story about a child of an incarcerated parent who worked hard to break the cycle and has made something of herself. She's now working as a stylist here at Revolt. What's a word of advice that you could give to children of incarcerated parents to help them be encouraged to break that cycle?
Well, first of all, thank you. You know, when we talk about 2.2 million people in jail, you know what we forget to talk about? The families. What about the children? And I think the point that you are making, which is a tragedy, is that many of the kids of people who went to jail follow in their parents' footsteps. And we got to break that cycle. And that means that as a society, we have to pay special attention. You know, if you are a kid and your dad is in jail and your mom is stressed out, that child needs special attention. And the goal must be that we do everything that we can to give that child the education and the financial support not to end up in jail as well. But sometimes the danger is people live in a certain world. They don't see anything different. And that's the kind of cycle that we've got to break.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much for speaking directly to that issue that's affecting so many people here in the country. I'd like to go next to Chris Perdomo, sitting by your side, who has a question about this issue.
Senator Sanders, a friend of mine recently sent an op-ed that was written in the Washington Post by Charles Koch. Really interesting, of course. It said, of course, he has something to say about this terrible, terrible rigged criminal justice system. Today, if you're poor, the quote was, today, if you're poor and get caught possessing and selling pot, you could end up in jail. Your conviction will hold you back from many opportunities in life. However, if you're well-connected and have ample financial resources, the rules change dramatically. How can we address the iniquities and access to criminal defense?
Well, does everybody know who Charles Koch is? See, in a life, sometimes anybody can be right occasionally. So I think what Koch writes here is right. But by the way, this is the second wealthiest family in America, so they know about who has money and who doesn't.
Wow.
They got a lot. They're the second wealthiest family in America, in the process of spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make certain that in the Congress and in the White House, we are going to have people to represent the wealthy and the powerful, the extremely right-wing family. But his point, nonetheless, is well taken. And what he is saying is that we have a criminal defense system which is, in some states, literally on the verge of collapse. The theory is, and the Supreme Court ruled, as you may remember, many years ago in Miranda, that every citizen, you're arrested, you have the right to a legal defense. But what states all over this country are doing is cutting back on public defenders. So technically you may have that right, but if you have to wait many, many, many months to meet with your lawyer, or if your lawyer is overburdened with dozens and dozens of cases and can't devote the time he or she needs to your case, are you getting fair legal representation? No. You're not. Of course you're not. So what we need to do is to make sure that if Miranda means anything, and that means that every American, regardless of his or her income, is entitled to a strong defense. Too many people go to jail. You know why they go to jail? They don't have a good lawyer to adequately defend them, and they cop some plea. Okay, I did this. I'll only go 2 years rather than 10 years. Too many people end up in jail that way. So we need to reinvigorate big-time public defenders in this country so that people charged with a crime can get the defense they're entitled to.
So is it? It's amazing. It's amazing what you just said, and this is what our country needs to come together and to make things happen. So is it possible that you and Charles Koch can actually agree on something so important? And if so, what can we do to reform this crazy system?
Okay, and the answer is yes, and I'll tell you why. Because in this instance, Koch comes from the right position, from a conservative point of view, and I don't want to speak for him, but what I guess is he's saying, Why the hell are we spending $80 billion a year to lock up people?
That's right. That's right.
All right? So if you are a conservative, you don't want to spend any money. Now, problem is Koch doesn't want to spend any money on education, on health care, on the needs of the people. All right, I understand that. But he also doesn't want to spend money on locking up people unnecessarily. I'll go with him on that. So I think that where you are seeing a coming together, and you're seeing this in Congress, among progressives and conservatives to say, is there a better way, A, to keep people out of jail, right? From a human point of view and from a financial point of view. Very expensive to lock people up, by the way. And second of all, can we make sure that we reduce the population in prison? And we just dealt with that. Rates of recidivism. Should we get people who are in jail out of jail who should not be in jail? On those areas, I think there is grounds for conservatives and progressives to work together.
Right, great, great.
Thank you so much, Senator Sanders. And thank you for that, Chris. Earlier, Senator Sanders, you mentioned Miranda, of course, Supreme Court case real quickly. You know, as we know, right now, the Supreme Court is there's 8 justices total. Can you speak really quickly about the situation that we're facing right now with the Supreme Court and the appointment? Thank you.
Yeah, I can. I mean, one of the political realities of the last 8 years since President Obama has been in office is that we have seen an unprecedented, and I'm in the Senate, so I see this every day, unprecedented level of obstructionism. You all know what that means? Obstructionism means that you try to delay things. President wants to do something, you not only defeat it, you have the right to defeat it, but you delay, you delay, you delay, you make it impossible for anything to happen, and then you go and you say, hey, there's President Obama, what has he accomplished? That has been the tactic of the Republicans in Congress from day one. So in terms of doing it again with the Supreme Court situation, read the Constitution. It is not complicated. The President of the United States has the right to nominate somebody to become a Supreme Court justice. Nobody disputes that. But this obstructionist-led Republican Congress has said, sorry, President Obama, we're going to try to stall this thing out until hopefully we have a Republican president, and then he'll nominate some right-wing person. That's what it's about. It is outrageous, but just part of 8 years of obstructionism against President Obama.
Thank you so much. Senator Sanders, I decided to stop being a disembodied voice from on high and join you on stage. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
We understand you have a very busy schedule.
I do, and let me just congratulate Revolt for this. These are exactly the kinds of discussions that we should be having as a nation, and I applaud you, and I thank you for inviting me, and I thank everybody for being here. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Vote America Now. Thank you to Vote America Now. Welcome back to the Revolt TV, a social conversation with Bernie. I must admit, if you are just logging in to revolt.tv or if you're just joining the network and the 50 million homes that Revolt TV comes to, the senator has left the building. You missed a good time. I have to say you missed a good time, right? Did we miss a good time? Okay, so I'm gonna kind of play back and forth with our director on this. Director, can we get a show of hands? How many people learned something new from the senator during his time here at Revolt TV? Okay, that's pretty good. How many people had some of their ideas changed about some of the things that they heard and spoke about? Okay. Then this is an opportunity for us to sort of deconstruct, analyze, discuss some of the things that the senator spoke about. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of the issues that were very important to him, like criminal justice reform, immigration, minimum wage, student loans. And so while we're taking this time, and you should know at home that we're together in part because the Secret Service is making sure that we all stay close and get to know each other pretty well. So this is an opportunity for us to talk a little bit with some of the people that came out to the studios and understand what it was about today and about this election season that's resonating with them. And as we said, Revolt TV aims to young multicultural viewers. That just means basically everybody who's just coming up and understanding who they are. But it's not just for the young, it's for everyone. And in fact, I have someone here who wants to come speak. You are young. I wasn't saying you weren't. I'm saying it's for everyone. Hey, how are you, man? What's your name?
I'm David Lawrence.
David, welcome to Revolt TV.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very proud to be here.
Yeah, we're proud to have you. Give me a sense of what you felt about this conversation with Bernie.
Well, let's put it this way, ladies and gentlemen. I first voted for the senator in 1976 in the state of Vermont when he ran for governor. I was one of the 4%. And I'm also proud I've already voted for the senator here in our great primary here in California. And what I can say is over 40 years of listening to the senator, he hasn't changed. Same message. I've been a resident of California for 35 years now. One way I kept in track with Vermont was through the senator and his career. And what I can really say now is that the senator has basically vindicated me. I have kept the line for the last 40, 45 years. And every time the senator speaks, he just reinforces what I believe and what I've been thinking. And I think the senator is, I really truly believe, he is our last great hope. And I think he will become our next president.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those words. Like we said, Revolt is for everyone. It's also for students. As we heard today, we heard a lot from the senator today about student loans. We spoke about that extensively. And we were very lucky here to be joined by students from both USC and UCLA in anticipation of this California primary. I just want all the colleges out there and the rest of the nation to know we love you too. But with the June 7th primary coming up, we thought it was important to talk to USC and UCLA because they're close. And USC, I believe that you have some responses to what you heard from the senator. How are you out there?
Because I've been a supporter of Bernie Sanders for a long time, since 2014, so not quite as long as the 1970s, but close. And I think it was really great to hear Bernie Sanders speak about his commitment to economic and social justice and to the commitment to the community. And I wanted to speak particularly to the issue that I think was not touched on, which was police brutality. And even though the mainstream media has kind of moved on from this issue, people are still dying every day at gunpoint in police custody. And I think it's really important that Sanders' campaign address this issue, and that we as progressives also take charge of this and bring our police forces to account.
Thank you so much. Also, can we just please give a round of applause for that sick Bernie for the Future shirt next to you? That thing is amazing. That's some good merch, man. You have to let us know where we can get that. Great job out there. Cool, so we have some more voices here in the studio. Come on up, man. What's your name?
Michael.
Michael, where'd you come in from?
Los Angeles area. I'm originally from Indiana.
Okay, cool. So now coming in today, did you have a particular candidate in mind to vote for?
I'm going to be 100% honest. I did not.
Okay, cool. Great.
Still on the fence.
Okay, cool. So that you're a great person to speak to right now. What did the senator speak to that may or may not have changed your mind about him?
He first off did an excellent job speaking. This is my first time fully hearing him in length speak, and he's a great speaker. The wide variety of topics he spoke on about education, healthcare, the criminal justice system, and just the main difference I saw in his not speaking style, but his actual what he believed from the other candidates.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we're talking about the Democratic primary coming up June 7th. You're still deciding between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you could, because as we know, this room is we send a call out for Bernie Sanders. People came here to hear from Bernie Sanders. Some undecided, many not. For you, what is it about Hillary Clinton's platform that you find compelling, or what is it about her as a candidate that is keeping you from being decided towards Bernie Sanders, who you seem to feel some favor for today?
To be honest, I like hearing from both sides until I fully can hear all the topics. Originally in the past, I liked some of the things Hillary Clinton said. I thought she was an educated woman. But most recently this year, some of her aggression and some of the things she's been saying that have caused kind of like disdain of me. So.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for your candid answer, man. I appreciate it. And, you know, that's what democracy is all about, right? Hearing from both sides. Is this true? So we're going to go, actually, and I should say, while we had a person who was undecided, and this has been obviously a town hall with Bernie Sanders, we should say Revolt to Vote is a nonpartisan initiative. We've made an overture and an invitation to all the remaining presidential candidates. Bernie Sanders was the first to accept our invitation for town hall. We're very thankful to him for that, for being the first, the trailblazer that he is. We're looking forward to hearing from the Donald Trump campaign and the Hillary Clinton campaign as well. The folks out at UCLA, students, you have some thoughts about what you heard today, don't you?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, UCLA loves Bernie, and it was just great to hear him talk about, you know, especially, I feel like, to me, it was the criminal justice reform where he was talking about bipartisan achievement. You know, bringing in Coke, and, you know, as despicable as I find Coke, I thought it was great that, you know, he really pressed the issue of bipartisanship and shows that a progressive can get things done.
Great. Well, that's great. You know, while I have you there, man, I want to ask you a question now.
Sure.
The math that Bernie Sanders is facing is it's an uphill struggle. It's something that Bernie Sanders has basically confessed to himself as campaigning.
Right.
He's keeping the hope alive for California, and that's what we're all here to talk about him with respect to this primary. Now, regardless of whether he prevails or not, there's an opportunity for this candidate to start a movement. There's an opportunity for him to create a legacy that perhaps extends beyond his own candidacy. And I wonder if you give any thought, if there are any ways that you feel the campaign could sort of position themselves to ensure that their legacy will continue beyond just this candidacy. Do you have any sense of that?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think number one thing is just supporting the down ballot races, supporting progressive candidates in the Congress, supporting progressive candidates in the Senate. You have very progressive candidates like John Fetterman running for the Pennsylvania Senate. Unfortunately, he lost that primary, but there's just so much work to be done on the ground in these down ballot races, and that's really what's going to keep this progressive movement afloat.
Thank you so much for that response. I appreciate you thinking quickly on your feet.
Thanks.
And that's a real and true answer. We actually have some more people here. And as we know, Bernie Sanders, while we're waiting for our next guest to come up, Bernie Sanders, I love this T-shirt too. Oh my God. Hey, how are you? We're going to talk about this T-shirt in a second. Bernie Sanders also has been doing a lot of fundraising, as we've seen more fundraising recently. Now, we were talking about that amazing shirt out of USC. I want to talk about this amazing shirt right here. This is a black flag Bernie Sanders shirt.
I got this super cool T-shirt at the Irvine rally at the amphitheater. There's this guy who makes them himself, and he donates it to Bernie Sanders. So I'll tell you a little bit.
Just do your name real quick.
My name is Mervet. Sounds like Corvettes.
We don't have too much time, so why don't you tell me what you got to say real quick?
I love Bernie Sanders. He is, as an Arab American, as a Muslim American, he protects us. He protects all Americans. This man is for the people. He has started a revolution that we have to carry on, and we need to vote for him. He's changed the face of the Democratic Party. I'm a delegate for the Democratic Party. I've endorsed him. I hope every single one of you goes out there and vote. We need to change our policies where we actually care about what happens here in our country, where candidates actually care about the American people. Go out there and vote.
Thank you so much, Mervet, right? I pronounced that right? Mervet, thank you so much. As Mervet said, she is a delegate. Of course, we would love to have more of a conversation with Mervet about the delegate process, the super delegate process. But, you know, we're talking about delegates. We're talking about the DNC, the Democratic National Convention coming up. Revolt will be there. I'll be there on behalf of Revolt at both the DNC and the RNC. We'll be kicking off a lot of that coverage, much more coming up very soon. That's what we have for right now. And thank you very much. We'll take a little break. Thank you. All right, welcome back to Revolt TV presents a social conversation with Bernie. That is Bernie Sanders, not just any old Bernie. He was here. He spoke directly to the issues. We got a chance to ask him some questions. That was really wonderful. Now we are in the process of deconstructing and analyzing some of the things that were said here. We just saw that some minds were changed a little bit. Some people learned some things from Senator's town hall here. Just to really quickly remind you, this social conversation was brought to you by Revolt to Vote, which is Revolt TV's initiative to cover this presidential election season. It's a nonpartisan initiative. We've made overture to Senator Sanders. He accepted, and we thank him very much for that. And we intend to invite, we have invited and intend to host host Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump for similar events, so look out for those. This has been an amazing opportunity to hear from the senator, but also to give the young voices of America, and California in particular, the opportunity to speak and be heard by the campaign and all the campaigns who happen to be watching this. And right now we're at USC, as you can see over my shoulder. We got the kid with the sick Bernie for the Future shirt, and we want to talk to him about how he was feeling about what he heard. How are you, man?
So first I would like to thank Senator Sanders for coming out, taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to all of us. It shows us that he cares about us, and we care about him too. I'm a pledged elected delegate for Bernie Sanders from the 33rd District of California, and I'm looking forward to nominating him as our president in Philadelphia. So my impression is, I thought it was a very, very good speech, a very good talk. I hope he will talk about recidivism rates in prisons. In the United States, we have one of the highest recidivism rates in the world, 80%. And I was watching an amazing Michael Moore documentary, Where to Invade Next, and he does a portion of the movie where he goes to Norway, and in Norway they treat the prisoners like human beings. They give them acceptable housing, good food, good conditions. They give them treatment like human beings. And in Norway, the recidivism rate there is one of the lowest in the world, 20%. In the United States, we treat our prisoners not like human beings, but we treat them as, frankly, in my opinion, animals. We don't give them proper housing environments in the prisons. We sick attack dogs on them. We strip them down, and we don't treat them as human beings. And in the Constitution, we have a provision that says no cruel or unusual punishment. So I really hope that in the coming weeks and months, the senator talks about recidivism and how we can treat our prisoners as humans, not something else. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. You can hold on to the mic for a moment. The senator did speak a bit about the recidivism rate here, and I'm sure he'll speak more to your wishes. Also, we saw, recently that the committee that puts together the Democratic Party platform was announced, and that Senator Sanders was awarded 5 spots on that committee, as Hillary Clinton 6, and then 4 left for Debbie Wasserman Schultz to appoint. How did you feel about that apportionment of people for that Democratic platform committee?
I think it's a good concession, but I think we need something that's a little bit more fairer for all of us Bernie Sanders supporters, because we are a very, very important group of people. And if the Democratic Party wants to win in November, they can't ignore us. They can't give us token apportionments and then expect us to be on their side. They need to treat us as members of their party who want to see progressives win in November.
And the first step is to get rid of Debbie Wasserman.
Okay, that's right. Well, we've been seeing a lot of calls for that. A lot of high-ranking Democrats are not coming out vocally supporting Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So that's a controversial point right now. Thank you for airing it. And now we'd like to speak with UCLA. UCLA, how you feeling?
We're feeling great. We're feeling great.
Cool, man. Tell me what's going on. How you feeling about what you heard from the senator?
We're all really pumped up after hearing that speech. It covered a wide plethora of issues. We really appreciate how he covered things like college tuition costs, things like student loans, and being able to refinance those. Young people were often not represented well politically in respect to our governmental institutions. So hearing someone like Senator Sanders come here and start a dialogue like this, we really appreciate that.
So I have a follow-up question for you, man. So it seems like you will be voting for the senator. Is that correct?
Yes, I will.
Okay, at what point, do you remember the moment, we're going to talk about this like this is a romantic relationship. Do you remember the moment you fell in love with Senator Sanders?
I fell in love the first time I heard him speak. When he announced on the lawn of the Capitol building, he went and he gave a speech very similar to the one he gave today. And I just remember his speech really resonated with me, and he talked about the issues that I care about.
You like any good love story, it started with the sound of his voice. Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we have one more question from UCLA. How are you, man? What's your name?
Nick.
Nick, how are you, man?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for being a part of this event with us.
Yeah, of course.
Give me some of your responses to what you heard from the senator.
Well, what really struck me again was education, just because that really affects the youth community. And he pointed out a good point that 50 years ago, tuition was virtually free in the UC system. And I believe now that Bernie Sanders is going to lead that fight for public tuition to be free, and to allow more Americans opportunity to get educated and to be competitive in the growing global workforce.
Okay, great, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to come back to UCLA in a second. I have a bunch of people lined up here in studio who have been patiently waiting to ask a question. Why don't you come on up? What's your name?
Rebecca, Miss Dimplesy Drama. So.
Okay, Rebecca. I'm going to go with Rebecca for the moment.
That works.
So tell me, how did you feel about what you heard from the senator?
I actually really enjoyed what he said today. I wish there had been a little bit more time to speak a little bit more on the feminine issue with regards to like pro-choice, pro-life, and how do you govern a woman's body when, you know, a lot of the people who are making these decisions don't menstruate themselves. And and then another thing that I wish we had a little bit more time to discuss was about how do you govern a body, or how do other candidates feel as though they can govern a body in which they're propelling hate?
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate you bringing up these points, and obviously we wish we had all the time in the world with the senator. But are there any other candidates who are speaking to some of these issues in a way that you find consonant or resonant in any way?
No, and that's the issue. Like right now, I'm virtually undecided between Bernie and Hillary. And although she does, you know, as a woman, she represents the feminine issue inherently, there are aspects in which like education and prison reform, which Bernie wholeheartedly gets, but I haven't been able to hear him speak on these other issues fully to really make my decision.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming out. Great to have you here. I want to come back to UCLA for a moment. UCLA, how are you feeling? Tell me your name.
I'm good. My name's Izzy.
It's Izzy? Okay, cool. I'm going to stop calling you UCLA then. I'm going to call you Izzy. Did you have a nice time with Senator?
Yes, it was so inspirational to meet him. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, absolutely. We're so happy to have you guys be a part of this. Give me some of the sense of what you felt. You know, give me a sense of maybe something you might have learned, or something that your mind was open in some way from this experience with the senator.
Okay, yeah, I definitely learned a little bit more today about his criminal justice reforms, and I think that's a really great idea. And it's really inspirational to have him coming out in favor of these issues that really have a strong social stigma attached to them, especially in communities of color. It's a big issue in LA, especially, and also where I'm from, Washington, D.C. And it's really nice to hear a mainstream politician talking about it on TV. So it's great to hear that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Criminal justice reform, criminal justice reform is a very important issue. It's something that we've been talking about a lot today. It's something that Revolt TV will be talking about a lot with Revolt to Vote. We are going to be having a criminal justice reform week initiative coming up very soon in June. There are a lot of issues that are talking about it. We had a great opportunity to talk about the senator with some of those issues, and we're going to cut those and put them online again in case you're just tuning in and you missed those. Hey, come on up, man. How are you?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You're D-Dot.
Yeah, D-Dot. D-Dot Omen from D.Omen.com.
Okay, cool, man. Where to get that website in there?
PG County, Maryland, in a building. Moved out here to LA. This is my first time really getting to tune into Bernie. I've honestly been kind of just ignoring the political process of the nomination. And
you feel like Bernie is speaking to you?
Right now, yes. You know, and it's important that my mom...
You can give me the 5-second. I'm so sorry. We're about to run out of time. Just give me the 5-second. Why do you love Bernie Sanders?
My mom wants to vote for him. This is her first time voting as an American citizen since she's been here for 30 years. So she likes him, and I'm right behind her.
That's so powerful. Thank you so much, D-Dot. Thank you to your mother for voting. And thank you guys very much at home for joining us for this Revolt TV Presents a Social Conversation with Bernie. We had Senator Sanders here. Check revolt.tv for more information on our upcoming town halls. For more about Revolt to Vote, you can visit revolttovote.com. And we'll have much more from this very event on our website, revolt.tv, coming up soon. My name is Amar Singh, the Chief Political Correspondent for the network. We've appreciated having you here. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you very much. Have a great day.